Hi, in the last video we looked at how we can create a simple web application using Node.js, and we served some endpoints and we were able to access the endpoints and we were able to save a couple of records in MongoDB. But this time in this video we'll learn how to build a library application wherein users will be able to search for the books, or the librarian will be able to add some books to the library or remove some books from the library. So let's get started. Let's look at the demo. So here I am. Let me create a Node.js application from the scratch. So let me go to the desktop and project coordinates. So I'm just choosing my a location where I can create my project. Yeah. Here I want to create library app. Okay, let me choose this. So now the project folder is got selected. So if you don't know what is the tool I'm using, it's VS Code. There's a video link given in the description. You can look at the video and get this installed. And yeah, let's init the application. So npm init. Now I want to call the same, so just say yes finally. So our package.json is created. If you need to add the info, you can add it. So yeah, obviously I'm going to create a web application, so I need express.js, body parser, and for now that's all. So let's go ahead and install them and save them. I've got my dependencies. So let's create our index.js. Our first goal is to create a hello world in Node.js. So let's do that. Index.js const express. I need to import the express, so require express. VS Code is already helping me. I need to create an app using express and a port that is 3000. That's a default port. Whole world uses it. App.listen. Give that port. And finally a callback function when the application is up and running. This is a pretty usual stuff to do to start a server for Node.js. If you already know, you can skip this part. So yeah, console.log server is started. So definitely let's set up the folder structure. I would definitely need a DB connection, so I'll create a DB folder. I'll be creating endpoints in a different file, so I'll keep my application layer in a different folder and then I import it here to use. So obviously I'm going to create a router in another file. So till this video or till the previous video, we have created all the routes in the same file, but let's look at how we can create the routes in other file and import them and use it here. So in the application folder, I can just put another index.js there and import the express and create a router and just express dot router. So I just created another router. So router is the function that handles the API request in and out of the thing. So this will contain all the routes. So I'll create my route handlers on the router itself. So get endpoint. So if I say on the root, so let's say hello to the world first. I'm sorry, res.send, because I need a res request as a first object and response as a second object. I'm just running through these steps because these are the things that we already discussed in previous videos, but I'm just doing it again to get that, bring that, repetition to you so that you can understand it better. So finally we need to export the router. So how we can do that? Module.exports is equals to router. Okay, I can import this router in the index.js const router is equals to require. We might have to import it a little bit further because we'll keep all the imports in one location. My bad, that's a typo. So this is my folder, application layer. Okay, I've called this file index.js. The reason is you don't have to specify index.js in the folder. Okay, you don't need to say this. You can just refer the folder and it will actually import the files. It will actually look for an index.js, and whatever is exported from here will be imported to here. So this is one way of doing it, but you'll have multiple index.js and there'll be a suffix on the tab called application or layer, but it will be so confusing. Generally people don't use it, but this is a way that you can do it. So I've just did it for your for you to understand. So I'm finally saying app.use, okay, router. So if I run it, node index.js. So we restarted. Let's see if we are able to get the hello world that we have written. I think we are getting somewhere, but okay, I haven't sent anything. So I think we have to send hello world. That's weird, I forgot. And again, we have to restart our server. To avoid restarting again and again, we use nodemon. For me, I'm using npx nodemon because I have some issues with my installation, but you can simply say nodemon.index.js, or you can simply say index.js. Yeah, even though I created my application layer or my endpoints in another file or with another router, I've just imported and just said to do. Okay, let's say if you have another endpoint which is a book, or if you wanted to create different routes like /books or /users or /library, anything you want, but create a router and you say like this, you import router to, like, just say book router and just keep it like this. So all the routes that are you might have written in this router file will be registered against /book. So you don't have to specify everything here. You can write all different kinds of routers in different router files, and finally you can import them here. So let's do that. So let's book route.js. I pretty much do the same stuff here, and I say hello from book route. Okay, we saved it. We just exported the router, and coming back to index, and just const book router, and you can simply application layer /book route. So this is what the file that is having, and I can simply app.use. This time I'm just saying books router. So now all the routes that are in this file all the routes that I registered in this file will be listening on /books, because we've exposed the router onto /books. So if I go back, if I say /books, we get the hello from book route. So I guess you got the gist of it. Like if you wanted to separate your coding, your routes into different files, so this is how you can do it. So let's get to the actual part. So the goal of this video is to create an app using Vue.js. So what is Vue.js? Vue.js is a view engine for Node.js. Basically, you can serve different kinds of response to the endpoints, and you can do so. Basically, if you look at the applications like PHP, Java, they do the server side rendering stuff. They have this view mode, and they integrate the data, the requested data, into that view mode and render that HTML version onto the response itself. So this just simply give you a bunch of HTML to render it onto the user's view. They don't always return JSON data or some other HTML data. The view can do the server side rendering and send that response to your client so that it can be displayed. So basically you create your, so if as I explained in the last video, model, view, control. So we saw at this point, till this point of time, we created our view separately, like in another HTML file. Now we are actually integrating that view onto the same server itself. So that's what we were doing. It's not kind of serving static files. It's just creating views that closely work with the router handlers. So the views will be working right from the router handlers. So let's look at that. Let's try to create a view. So for that, first you need to create a folder called views, and then you create a file called EJS. So the EJS file, EJS module expects you to write your HTML in EJS format. So you have to say home.ejs. So there are many engines like Handlebar or Ember, but I'm using EJS because it makes a lot of sense for the developers who know JavaScript a lot. So you will see what I was referring. So now you need to install EJS. So npm install, because you need to tell that this is my dependency. Save. So I just saved it. Let's verify. Yes, I've added it onto the thing, and we just forgot one more part, because we need to say, we need to supply the body parser, because we need to format so the requests and response that are coming or going in and out of the application server, the body should be converted to JSON, because that's what the content medium that we want to communicate with our client. So let's do that. Let's import the body parser. We have installed body parser, but we haven't imported it. Is equals to require. So yeah, body parser is imported, and let's use that. Body parser dot. So we haven't used the body parser, because why do we need body parser? We need body parser to just get the hold of the request body that is coming from your request. Like if there is a web request sent to you, and if you needed to process that request, if there is a data coming in the body, you need to be able to access in one specific format. So body parser will help you format your request body coming in, whatever the format it is coming up. So URL encoded and extended is equals to false. Pretty standard stuff the body parser or the middleware expects us to configure. and I want to use the JSON middleware. So now whatever the request that is, or whatever the body that is coming in, I'll be able to access the body in a JSON format. Okay, we have configured that, and yeah, application looks good. Let's verify everything is fine. So the best way to you need to make sure your application is stable after each set of update you make to your application, because if you just kept on coding and come back somehow and looking forward that you need to do something else and you forgot something, and that's not going to help you. So you need to verify. So let's configure the view engine first. So I can say app dot set. What I'm setting the configuration for view engine app, nothing but we are supplying the inputs for Express.js, because app is nothing but an Express.js application instance. So I'm saying I want to use the EJS engine for our views. So now we have enabled the views concept. Okay, now when I said views have been started, this configuration is started looking for the views folder. So we already created the views folder and we have a EJS file. What do we need to write in the EJS file? EJS file, any pretty standard HTML is a valid EJS also, because EJS is nothing but a HTML document, and that will enable you to interpolate using JavaScript, interpolate data using JavaScript. That means you can write the mix and match of your functionality. You can control the HTML render flow with your JavaScript function. So we will look it in a while. We'll learn how to do it in a while. But for now, you just assume that any HTML is a valid EJS code as well. So library app, because that is our home, and let's create a folder called partials, and for now we'll say hello world from EJS. So now let's render this EJL from some other route. Let's for now we'll forget the book routes, but for now we'll use this index route, and res.render, and you can simply say home. So without the extension of this file, just say home, and this method will look for the views and a file called home.ejs, that which is existing. So let me go ahead and refresh the endpoint. Voila, we got it. So this is now being rendered. Okay, if I make some changes, see, so this file, HTML file, has been imported, and this method, res.render method, coming to the views folder, it is looking for the views folder because you configured the app to use view engine EJS, and your response render method is looking for the folder called views and a file called home.ejs. What happens if you did not created a folder called views, or you just said views? So if you see now, it is failing. It says fail to look up view home in the views directory, because it is expecting you to create a directory called views and keep all your EJS files in there. Okay, hope you understood the requirement, and I expect you to follow the same. So do not mess with this folder name, and do not mess with the extensions. So the extension should be EJS, and all the EJS files should be in the view file. Okay, fine, good. Let's try to send some data. So the next parameter for that render function is to send some data to this HTML. Okay, we can send some data, like let me set data is some other, let me send some other JSON there. Okay, first book name, let me send a sample book name, and book name is like King Arthur. Did I spell it right? I think I misspelled it. Okay, so now I can access this data in the Vue.js like this. Sorry, so the data, so now we rendered the Vue.js EJS from here, sorry, and I'm trying to send the data, some information to this home.js, home.ejs, and to render it. Let's see what it is gonna render. So it's just rendering object because it just works as a JavaScript, and let me do the same thing. So this is the pretty, I mean, if something is printing object in JavaScript, this is what I do. And let me try my luck if I can do that. See, so basically EJS is nothing but, it's a EJS syntax is very similar to JavaScript. So 80% or 90% of the time, whatever is there in JavaScript works on EJS. So you can print it. And there are different expressions. Let's get to the expressions or interpolation expressions. And first thing that we need to understand is the partial concept. So why do I need partials? So let me just take out this head section, okay, and let me go to partials and create a head.ejs, and let me keep it here. And now if I come here and save this file, if I come back, I don't see that title there because I removed from here and I pasted it in different file. You can include this head.js in here with a EJS expression called include. So this is the syntax: include function string partials, that's the folder name here, partials / head.ejs. Okay, now if you go back, my library app title is back because this particular head is actually coming onto this section. So I just imported that file and just rendered it here. So now if you created 100 different EJS files, you will have one head configuration that is being sent to 100 different files. You don't have to, if you create a different HTML file, you don't have to, if some change is occurred in the head, you don't have to go back to 100 different files and change the file. No, you can just come here and change it here, and it will reflect in all different EJS files that are being rendered from this folder. So let's look at the benefits later, but let's try to understand the concept now. Okay, let me go ahead and install the Bootstrap on this app for now. So I love Bootstrap because Bootstrap UI makes sense a lot. So Bootstrap, docs, download. So I don't want to use these things, but I just want to link this CDNs on the header. So I'll go to header because that's where they should live. So voila, I did that, and I should come back and see, yeah, some styles have been changed, some fonts have been integrated, some reset CSS being imported, and everything is working fine. Okay, let's go to some examples. Okay, let me try to find some random example so that I can show you that Bootstrap is working. Okay, I like this. I go to view page source. Maybe I can only copy the body section, main to main, copy, come to home.ejs. In the body, I don't want to do all this, but I just copy paste it. Come back to your HTML. Okay, because this render method, rest.render, is sending this home.ejs, and this home.ejs has all the HTML code that is being rendered here. So simply your view is on the Node.js as well. Now for the view, I'm actually sending some information. Okay, so if I come here, I'm sending some information, and you have seen how do we access that information. This is just a sample, and this is just a hello world example. We will look into a more complex things in the future, but for now I just wanted to demonstrate that how we can utilize the Bootstrap UI, but I don't really need these things. I'll just keep it simple. Hello world EJS. Okay, we're good. Okay, the view is rendering, the partial is rendering. We need some more partials, and we need some more advanced stuff needs to learn on EJS. But for now, we want to build a complete application. So right from API, database, and view. Okay, we have one thing left, that is database. Okay, let's create that database. So again, you can either create an index file and just import a DB, but I'll just say db.js. Sorry, I'm not in the right mindset now. Okay, now did I installed Mongoose? Because Mongoose, I'm going to use the Mongoose ORM because I want to connect to my MongoDB instance that I created in Atlas, and I have already acquired a connection string. If you don't know how to do that, I have given the link to the video in the description, or it should be popped up on the left top corner. Just look at that video, and you will be able to, by the end of that video, you will be able to get that connection string that I'm using in this video. So everything is explained in that video. No stress. You can pause this video and go there and look at that connection string generation steps, and come back to this video so you can resume. Okay, now let me close all these files. It's so confusing what file I'm currently working on. Now I'm working on setting up my DB. Okay, so I need Mongoose. npm install Mongoose. If you don't know Mongoose, I explained that in the same video that I just described. So just stay there for a moment and learn about everything about new Mongoose and join me in this video. That's fine. Const Mongoose. Okay, not my style of importing as of now, at least. I just want to keep the thing simple. Now I can say module dot export, okay, dot bootstrap. So I from this file I just wanted to export some a function called bootstrap, because that looks intimidating, that looks more professional way, because that conveys that I'm trying to bootstrap something. Okay, I misspelled it, but I'm just exporting a method called bootstrap, and I put some function in that bootstrap. So what do I want to do it on the bootstrap? Because I have my connection string. Okay, where connection string is equals to. Okay, so this is not really looking professional. So what else I can do? What can I do? Okay, so there is a way to inject some secrets onto the Node.js process, onto the, if you are spinning up a container, or if you're spinning up a web server, so that web server will have operating system and process environment variable, something that is stored onto the machine runtime itself. So I just don't want to keep my secrets or the important stuff like my password and everything right in this file, because if I push it to Git or something, that becomes public. So how can I avoid doing that? Okay, there's a different way how to do it with K8 files. There is more secure way of creating secrets and importing. But for now, let's look at a easy approach called using the .env files. So .env files are supposed to be in the user's work environment, and you can create some variables in this .env file like this. So I said Mongo URI and I copied my Mongo URI here. I can add this file to my git ignore, because if some other developer using his own credentials, that's different. And if I'm deploying it to production, I'm going to use a different Mongo URI. As I explained, using K8 or say Kubernetes or something, there's a different advanced way of importing secrets onto the process. But for now, let's understand the concept in a miniature version. So it's just a miniature version of that big process. So first step is to create a .env file and create a variable like this, all caps with underscore. Every word should be separated by underscore and equal to string expression, and I copied my connection string to this string expression. Now step number 1 is done. Step number 2, come back to your what do we call index.js. So now you need to install one more package called npm install .env. So let's install it as a production dependency for now. So what this package will do is the package will pick up this .env file and load this variable onto the process of Node.js. So secretly, so in your code, you will just say process.env.mongo URI. You will get that URL that is you stored it on .env file. So let's do that. So you import your const, so env equal to require .env. That's the module that we have installed, and now we need to say env.config. Okay, so let's call it env.config. Okay, this method or this function call will take care about picking up all the variables. You can add as many variables as you want in a separate line. So keep everything in a separate line. You can create another variable like Mongo admin pwd and put some string there, like this, and this will be imported onto the Node.js. Now my index.js is now injecting the environment variables. Now I can say process.env.mongo URI. So the variable that so when you say this, the string that you have created in this env file will be picked up by this method and added it onto the process variable of Node.js. So it is created on the OS process, operating system process environment variables. So now this is a secured way of transferring your secrets to the Node.js environment, and in your JavaScript files you are saying just process.env.mongo URI. So everybody knows that env stuff will be configured in the .env folder. So this is this is something that people not usually teach you because it takes a lot of time, and it's not really seems to be important, but it is really important. So I have my connection string. Let me verify if I have a connection string, because this is step number 2. The connecting database is step number 3. So step number 2 is to verify if I am able to receive Mongo URI from my .env. So what I have to do, I have to import this DB. in my index const. So I probably have to do it one step above, because const db is equals to require db dot slash db slash db, or you can just call it as index and you don't have to say db dot slash db. So now I'm coming here, db dot, what I have exported from db, I just exported a method called db, bootstrap. It is not called yet. So I'm just going to call the bootstrap method and see if it's undefined. So this says it is undefined. Let me see why it is undefined. Okay, so do I get my variables correct? Okay, this is undefined. Why it is undefined? Okay, I probably called this bootstrap method even before the configure method is called, because config is the one is going to pick up the env file and going to inject. But even before injection, I'm calling that method, and definitely it's not going to help. Okay, now since the order is correct, now we should be able to receive this, and yeah, db is able to access that connection string. Hope that made sense. So step number 3, now we should be able to connect Mongoose. Okay, Mongoose dot connect. What do I have here? So we have connection string, that's the one thing to pass, and there is certain configuration stuff. Let me do that. Okay, let me add that. Okay, we are good. So let's see, if I save this file, we have to get to, yeah, we got it. We got this Mongo connected. So if I don't call this bootstrap method, I'll only get server started. So my MongoDB is never connected. So this way you can, toggle off on and off, your DB, because having a DB file separately will give you that liberty of, not bootstrapping the DB or not starting the DB or starting the DB. You can make the choice, because it's always important to keep your code organized in different files and import them and use them, because you get a lot of, control or a lot of reusability. If you need the same bootstrap function somewhere else, if you have created a similar app somewhere else, yes, you can do that file, you can do that connection, from the same different application as well. So my DB is ready. Good. Now we have view engine, we have endpoints, we have database. What do we need? We need database models. Okay, let's take a step back from coding. Let's understand what do we need, for our data. Okay, we got view, we got controller. Okay, we got controllers, the endpoints. We know about how do we create endpoints now. We have views already configured. We can create as many views as we want, but what do we want to do with this setup? We want to build a library app, as I said. So what do we have in the library? Usually we have books. Okay, we have people coming for the books, searching for the books, reading them, taking out and submitting back, or librarian adding some books, deleting books. So there's actually a lot of stuff, but I don't want to, make this session clumsy with a lot of stuff. Maybe I can build a module where I can add a book or delete a book or modify a book information and get the list of books that are available in the library. So let's see if we can actually search for that books in the same UA as well. But if time allows, that's fine. Okay, now it's time we go back to an Excel sheet and discuss about our schema. Okay, what do we want to create? We want to create a book schema first, because books are the ones, the main purpose of our application is to manage books. So yeah, let's create books. So obviously we will have book title. Okay, we have description about book maybe, and then there will be an author for that book. And what do we have? Location. The book location will be specific, right? In a library, a location will be assigned to a book, so that if I'm searching it, what location it is in, we should be able to see it. So location, and then publisher, edition. Maybe edition can be integrated onto the title itself or book name itself. Let's call it name, so let's not call it title. Let's say book name. Book name, description, author, location, publisher, published date, what else we have? Maybe genre. Yeah, genre of the book. Okay, let's not make it over complex. This is enough. Let's get started. If we forget something, and we can always come back. So let's discuss, do we need a name? Is it a mandatory to create a book? Yes, it is mandatory. Do we need a description? Maybe. If there is a description, it is good. It's always good to have a description. Author, obviously there will be an author, it's important. Location, yes, it is important. Publisher, maybe. Even if a book is not available without a publisher, doesn't stop from picking up the book and reading. If there is a data, that is fine. If not, that is also fine. Genre, if you want to keep the data, for me it is not really necessary, so it is optional. So required is important. Okay, these are all required. So what is the type of the data? So we need to know what is the type of the data, right? So that name will be basically a string. Description also will be a string. Author, string. Location, string. Even if it is in numbers, we should consider it a string, because section 1, rack A or something, whatever it is, so it will be string. And publisher name is also obviously string. Date, date, time. And genre, of course, it is a string. So we are actually discussing these things because we will get to that coding stuff, but we need to have this discussion and figure out what are the types, what are the schema that we want to prepare. So this discussion is important. Maybe we need image to just identify the cover, maybe cover image, but string, price, is available. Price, we are not selling it, right? So book status, maybe I can call it just status. That's fine. Status is mandatory. Let's keep the cover is also mandatory. Okay, no, let's stop here. So let's just create a schema for it. Okay, what do we need to do to create a schema? So let's create all the schemas in one place. So I'll go back to, this is my app, and we come back to app, and we create a folder called schema. Maybe I can make it plural, or I can keep it single. So schemas. So book schema.js. I could have actually said index.js and written all the schemas here, but the file name will have index and then a suffix that doesn't look, it's not so readable for me, so I keep it, the file name itself is specific. So okay, now const, I need to import Mongoose. Why do we need to import Mongoose? We want to create a Mongoose schema. So we import Mongoose. So import is mandatory in each, wherever you are trying to access something, you must need to import. Okay, Mongoose. So I have imported Mongoose, and I want to expose or export something, okay, from this file, that is mongoose.schema. Okay, I want to export something, the result of this function. So the value of this function, the expression of this function, so will be a schema that is should be used in the model of the module. So now what do I have here? Name, yes, name. So you can just say string here, but I have few more parameters to pass in, so you have to create another object of schema. So maybe now you can say type is string and required is true. So this is what we are saying here. So name is type of string and it is required for creating. If you are trying to create a particular book record, if the title is not supplied, the schema should say that the title is mandatory or the name is mandatory. So same way we will create few other steps. So next is what? Description. I've spelled it, and the type is string and required true. So it's a pretty boring stuff. So let me pause this video and complete the step for the rest of the operators. I went ahead and created the schema, but I just wanted to run over a few things. So we have seen string type, we have set the date type, because yes, we need publisher date also to date type, and this new thing that is called default. That means whenever you don't have to supply to this field any data to create a new record, new book record. So it will by default pick this value date.now. Whenever that is being created, it will actually pick up that particular date and timestamp, and it will add that to database. So you don't have to do it. So you have to say, so maybe you can design the schema like this. If you don't have any other parameters, you can say just string, and this will be the type of that particular field. Or if you have additional parameters, you will create it like this. So you create an object and you say type is to set the type to string, whether it is required or not. So there are different types of data types that you can it's like pretty JavaScript standard stuff, array, object. You can go through the Mongoose documentation and find out all about the different data types, but I just wanted to talk about the ones that are really important and very frequent, and maybe like a number. So I just want something for the number type, so maybe I can include the pages, maybe type number. I don't know what is the default number could be, so I'll leave that. And pages count is not really mandatory for a book, because if it is, this is a good to have info. So all the good to have infos I have actually not said required to true, which are really required for the which makes sense. The ones that are marked as required is equals to true. So that means you cannot create a book without the information that is here. So that's what I was saying. So one other thing that I wanted to talk about is one other type is string and enum type. So a status of the book can be this. It could be in, it could be out, it could be unavailable due to any maintenance or other stuff. So I just have 3 probabilities for the status field. So I can create the probability enum. So enum is kind of a set of values or set of probabilities or set of states for that single object. So, and it can in, it can be out, or it can be not available. And what is the default value can be? Default can be in, because if you are creating one book, that means you definitely have it in with you, and if you're definitely going to place it, you might have already placed it in the place, and you might have already got the location. Do I copy that location here? Maybe I haven't. So do I have it in my schema? What did I call it? The schema location, book location. So I haven't said that. I haven't created the schema for it. I'm creating now location schema. So you need to understand the schema extends to a level. Okay, let's say if you wanted to add some comments of the users, that users are passing in some comments about the book, and you wanted to just save the comments and ratings of individual particular book, you can do that. Okay, you can say reviews, and you can actually create an array like this. Okay, and here I'm expecting the reviews can be like this array of items. It can have number of reviews, 50, 60 or 500 reviews. User keep reading them and give reviews, and you just wanted to maintain somewhere, save somewhere. So reviews. Now we are creating a schema inside a schema. Reviews. Reviews can be anything, user reviews or whatever it is. So this is a collection of reviews. So each collection item will have these fields. That's what I'm saying. Okay, rating, which is what type of number, maybe it can be and it is required. Okay, required is equals to required to true. Now here what we are doing, we are creating a schema, a large schema for one set of things. So like if against this book, if I wanted to add a review, so rating is one information that I need. What I need again, comment, maybe a comment. So it's like this. We are creating an array of reviews. So if I get this reviews, I'll get the array of items which have a rating, a number, and a comment on that. Okay, comment. This will have a string, type to string, and this type to string, and then what that? This is required? No, this is not required. Comment, they can give a comment, they cannot give a comment, so I don't want to restrict there. What else I can capture? Maybe email, username, a particular user. How do I identify that user? So I think if he is giving the rating, I need to capture the username. So the type is string again. So again, this is not the industry standard, guys. I might have cut corners somewhere, but the concept is overall the same. So this is required. So for example, I might be creating reviews on the same book, but for one book, if you are trying to fetch one book, it has to process this hundreds of records here. Basically reviews goes on to a different table altogether, and there will be a relation between a set of reviews and a book. So that's maybe the data architecture could be better, but for now I just wanted to make things simple and just run through. So I'm creating everything again here. So again done, my schema is ready. Okay, what do I need next? I need model. Okay, this is a model, a new concept, and then again I'm creating a folder called models. Now again book, not Moog, book model.js. What do I need? I need const mongoose is equals to require mongoose. It's not in my folder, it's in the okay, fine. We have imported the mongoose, and also I need to export a schema. So module dot exports is equals to mongoose dot model. Sorry, this is a model file. I need to export the model. My model name is book. So I'll this will create the collection of books. So my model name is book, and this will create a collection of books in the MongoDB as soon as I try to save a record. So always call the model in a singular form, like not a plural. So don't just keep this name as a singular. Okay, fine. So what is the schema that we have imported? The schema, we need to import the schema. So book schema equal to require local folder. I need to go back to one folder up and then see schemas folder, because my model file is in one folder down in the server. So I need to go one folder up. That means / and then schemas and then book schema. Now I have directly exported the schema, this schema response or schema value directly onto the module.export. You can either store it in a different variable and export it here, but you can still, I don't have to drag that way and do it. I can just simply do that. If there are 2-3 things, yeah, I might create variables and then export, but I just want to have one job in one file. So I model my code that way: one file, one job. So that way it is clean. Okay, now I exported my model from here. So okay, now we have to get the information. Let's try to configure the get endpoint to get this data. Okay, let's go to application layer. Now we are at the routes. So I probably don't need this route. I can just simply because this is a library app, I don't need specific routes, but still let's use this. Okay, books route, let's use books route for now. Let's not go into this. Let's keep this as simple. Okay, and let's get this code from here, or let's create the code again, not a problem. So I just wanted to, when I say books, when I said get books, I just wanted to show all the books. So books route res dot render home, pretty fair. I can go to books. There's something wrong because it is expecting me to send some data. I'm not sending it. But for now, let's remove that exportation from the Vue.js. It's EJS itself. Let's comment this guy, or that's not the way I comment EJS. Let's come to that part again. And yeah, now the books endpoint is actually getting it. So now I need to import the model of book because I need it. So const book is equals to require / where is my model? One folder above, models, book model. So this is where it is. So now if I say I need to use the async await, we know this, there's no surprise to it. And if you're wondering what is async and what is going to await, there's a video ribbon coming up on the top that will talk about async await and you can learn about it. So const response. So don't say res because there is a res variable already here. It will conflict with this res variable. So always say response equal to await book dot find. So I'm trying to get all the records for now, and I will send data, the response object as data. Okay, string. Okay, there is a problem with my schema. Now it is popping up. All this time it was not popping up. So it says my comment is string, not string. Shall we check for other errors like that? I think no errors. Save it. I think we are good. Now if I come back, endpoint is good. So let us enable the same commented code in here to stringify the data and see. We have empty response because we haven't created any books, right? We're trying to get the data because the collection is must be created, and now we are getting the collection information which is empty. Okay, that's good. So yeah, we have connected DB and our collection is created, and we're trying to find the data, and the data is empty. Now it's time that we create a book, right? So let's create a view for create book. So I'm creating a view because we are building a UI now, and this UI, we will tie this UI with we'll tie this UI to a saving endpoint, post endpoint, and try to save the record on from the UI itself. So just creating add book, add hyphen book dot EJS. Okay, and then HTML5. Good. Add book. That's the time, and let's say H1 add book page. Okay, we created a view. How do we need to serve the view? We have to serve the view via an endpoint. Okay, did we create an endpoint? No, we haven't created an endpoint. So let's try to create the endpoint. I've just copied this code and pasted, or let's not confuse. Let's create router dot get. Okay, it's a get page, and I say add book and async. Maybe I don't need async because I'm not doing any server calls. I don't need to wait for anybody. Okay, my handler is ready. I need to send this request and response to the handlers, request and response, and then response dot send. What do I need to send? I need to send, actually I need to render the UI like this. Okay, what is my EJS name? File name add book. Okay, server is restarted. This must be added. Now let me go ahead and visit this page called add book. No 2 slashes, just 1 slash. Add book page is here. Now let me create, okay, a page there. Here I've just used bootstrap here, but in this page, if I go to view page, there's no header. There's a different header here. A while back I said if you need a header, a common header, you can maintain that common header. Okay, let me replace this with this. Voila. Now if we go back to page source, all the bootstrap stuff is already coming in. Okay, so now I have this guy. Okay, now let's go and copy something for the form. Let's do some form configuration here. So let me go to bootstrap page, and bootstrap, go to the bootstrap page and go to forms. In the example, do we have any forms example? Okay, no. Let's go to docs. Let's find forms. Let's go to a form, a simple form. Maybe the first example looking good, so let's take that. So form, one field, I think this is enough. Maybe let's copy the entire thing and add it here. Okay, we got the form. Okay, we got the form, but this is way spread to the edges. So we know we have already learned about bootstrap. If you haven't know, the ribbon is already, or the description will already have a link to see the bootstrap learning, or just understand bootstrap. But I'm using bootstrap to just speed up my demo part. Okay, div.container will create a container of bootstrap, and div.row will create a row. And now if I save this, the container is actually little bit pulled in, and now this will have a standard sizes, the container sizes, like the the responsiveness, everything will kick in the moment you added the container. So don't get confused. I've added a lot of HTML at the same time. So if you if you got confused. So I'm just removing everything. So what I did here is that instead of writing this whole HTML from Bootstrap and everything and styling them, I'm just using the Bootstrap. Form is a form, the entire form, and this particular section is this. The code generates this one field. So we need lot of inputs. So we are trying to create a create form of book. So we have created a schema of big schema there. For each schema item, we need to create the form, right? So what is the schema? We have this many fields. Okay, we actually complicated a lot of things. So I probably shouldn't have complicated this much, but you know, since we already did that, so there's no way going back now. So let's create, you know, the form items for this many things. So if we don't want to go that route of you know, Bootstrap, let's go this route, simple route. Let's create label, okay, name, and label name, and input type text. Is it required? Go back to our schema, find out it is required. It is required. Name, description, author, and location is really important. So it is required. Name, required name. Name the item as name itself. So we should name these text fields the way we created our schema. That's the key. Okay. Use the same name. So let me close everything. Save everything. Let me open add book and schema. Okay. Name, description, publisher. Okay. We have opened two files. And let me look at the view, how it is looking. We have simple values, and I just wanted to push the next item to. I use the hyphen br. My bad, form shouldn't have closed. So I've just created a br so that it will be pushed. So some dummy things. So eventually the code will get complicated. Even if whatever the corner that you get, eventually the code will get complicated because I am creating a bigger schema according to this schema. So now description, and the name is description. So let me pause this video and okay, I think the form is good. Let's try our luck with this form. Okay. Whenever I wanted to, I'm ready. Okay. Whenever I'm ready, and then I'm actually trying to save the record. So let's say save new book. If I hit this, all the required options will be checked against the submission. And if something is missing, and it will ask us to enter the values. And if I save the book, it should go somewhere, right? To save the data, it should take this data somewhere. Okay, where should I take the data? First, what is the method of that submission? The submission method is post. Okay, and where should it post to? Okay, it should post to. Let's set the action. Action is the location where I wanted to send the information. Book slash. I'll just send it to the books, and I'll create a method with post. So yeah, ready, schema changes are ready. Let me go to the book route and write a route. Router dot post. That's the endpoint that we configured for, method type that we configured for our form. So post slash, just on the books only. Let me copy this handler to save the time. And now I'm getting a payload. Okay, so this is not something I just want to do that. So I'm just getting some response, sorry, body from the form. So I can access that form information that is being submitted to this route like this. Console.log. Let's try to log that information that is coming. So let's not first try to save it. Let's just see if it is coming. Res.send. Good job. Okay, let's appreciate ourselves for creating that. Okay, I am just enter the random information and random dates and satisfy the form, because if I submit, it will ask me some information. If I submit, this is asking me some information. Status is N, and yes, I got the good job because the form is getting submitted to this particular route. That's why I'm getting a good job. Did I get the console log? Yay! We got the information that we have entered in the body. Because how does this magic happen? Because in the HTML, you said I wanted to submit to the endpoint called books. That is this. And the method is post. That is this. You said post books route. Where is the books route? I see only slash, because in the index.js, you imported the book router and said you registered against books endpoint. So that means whatever you just say slash inside, that means this. So I just did not complicated it, but just wanted to give you the example, a real-time example of how people use these external routers. Okay, now I get the body. Now it simply I have to send it to the, my model. Okay, I can do this. Okay, now const new book is equals to new book. Okay, I can say request.body, or I think I can save it onto a const payload is equals to request.body, and you can send this payload to this guy. Okay, let's try our luck. Go back, submit again, because we haven't refreshed. I think something wrong with the, no, nothing wrong, everything is working perfect. Refresh the page. So many fields, so much information to enter. I think I shouldn't have done that, because this is going to take quite a bit of time to just fill in and submit. Okay, I'm just getting the good job. Why it isn't updated? Did I not save the file? Okay. So that means I'm still sending the good job. I can send this to see if the record has been created. Okay, the record has been created. Okay, but I haven't saved that record. Okay, so let's do that. Const response is equals to await new book dot save. Okay, let me try to send that response. Let's send that response and let's see what do we get. Okay, we are getting an ID, but we are supposed to get the entire record of it. After the battle of almost 1 hour, I figured out what is the issue. I thought I couldn't make that issue. The issue is it is module.exports, not module.export. Now if I make the changes, if I add some information like this, yes, the record is saved finally. So now I don't want to show the information like this to the user. I just wanted to show the actual information to the user. So what I can do, if I go back to the original route. Once I saved this document here, I can actually redirect the view to this get, so that the find method will get all the new records and give it to the home. So let's try that. So once the request is reached the post service and it is collected the body and created a new record and saved it, we need to send it back to the home page, like the home directory. So this route is actually rendering home, so I can redirect from here to home. So redirect, that means just point it in a new direction where I should redirect to this get method. Okay, now if I come back and if I save a book like this, now I come back to this. Instead, if I can go back to books, yep, I think this is where I should take the user to, because if I take home, I think I will not be able to save any information. So if I can redirect it to the books, this books endpoint, this is root, but this was registered on this books endpoint, so I need to redirect it to books. So once I redirect it to books, it is coming to this handler. It is getting all the books that are saved in the database and giving it to the UI. On the UI, I'm getting all the books, because I was figuring out the issue and I was trying out what is wrong with my code, and meanwhile I've created this many records, but I don't know if I could delete these records. I'll try that. I'll pause this video for 2 seconds and just try to release this, clean up this mess and come back with it. I managed to delete all the records. Now we are back to empty. So now let me add a navigation here so that I can quickly navigate between pages. So let me go back to Bootstrap. Okay, docs, navigation. Okay, let me find a simple navigation. No, I'm not on the navigation page. Okay, yeah, this is what I was talking about. So yeah, this is good. So I can take this, go back to here, home. Actually, I need to include the navigation all the pages, so I'll create a nav.ejs. I think it's wrong. ESJ, not EJS. Let me save that. So I need library is the app name. Maybe home add book. This add book will always should take it to book / add book. So this is what the URL I should take it to, in show books / books when I hit the show books. Okay, I think I don't need this again. So my nav.ejs is ready. Now I can include that in the navigation. Now I should say nav.ejs. The same thing, I can incorporate it in add books. I mean, I don't think I need it in add books, but even if I wanted to go to some page else, yeah, now it is rendered, but it's not really in center. So copy it, div dot. You remember sometime back we created container div dot row, and inside that I create a navigation, save it. If I come back, it's in center. Same thing I should do here also, because hello world is something that is coming from here. So I should say div dot container, because this is the base grid system for the Bootstrap. So those, if you know Bootstrap, you can figure out what is this. I'm actually keeping everywhere. Okay, now if I hit add book, I'm in the add book page. So I'm just say King Arthur, description, some description, and publisher, I don't know what the publisher is, but it's XYZ Corp, and published date is somewhere around February, let's assume June. Author, some author, location 8, zone A section by 2 by 1 or pages is 200, and status is in. Let me try to save the book. The book is saved and the record is fetched when I am. So if you remember, we saved the book and we redirected to books endpoint. Books endpoint is getting the response data from server and giving it back to the UI. Now the next thing is we have to render this information on the page. Where we have to render? We have to render it on home. So here we go. We are rendering on the home. We are just stringifying it. And let's now iterate on this dataset and display that book information on the UI. So let's do that. Okay, let me create a template for that, or for now let's not use templates. Okay, so now I can say data dot for each. So I'm trying to iterate on the book because I get the books there. So this is my standard syntax for loop. Okay, but you have to remove these two things and you have to end it that in a different line. So you need to differentiate the two lines. This is generally a syntax of JavaScript, but now in EJS file this is the EJS syntax. Now this book will be available, the record book will be available in between these two EJS expressions. Now here you can say maybe h3. Now you have to render the book name, right? To do that, you have to create an expression, EJS expression like this, and you have to set it to equal to, because that's where we indicate that we are planning to print the name. So we are iterating through each book item and printing the name of that book. Let's go and try that here. So the book name is printed. Let me go and add another book there. I added it. So there's something wrong. My endpoint, it should say duplicate key collection notebook book duplicate key ID 1. So what it is saying is I'm trying to create the duplicate record of the same. So we said unique, ID unique. So but we are not passing any ID here. So that's my mistake. I need to pass ID. So we need to create a ID for each individual record. So the UUID is a plugin which generates a new salted or hashed string of that UUID. So we need to use this function to generate that ID. So the ID column or ID element is unique from each of the record. Like if I'm creating book 1, the ID for that book 1 is different, book 2 will have a different ID, so that we can identify number of books. Even though the names are same, we can identify different books by this ID. So I said it to use unique, but I was not sending. The moment I'm sending the the same record without ID, it is kicking me off. So let me, this time I corrected that issue. Let me refresh it. If I try to same with the same information, the book is created. Now there's so much information on the database, but I'm only displaying you 2-3 records. So it goes like this. I can duplicate this. I can say H3 or H4 and do this H4. I can copy, I can say description, author. See, but I'm able to print it, but the UI is so clumsy. So let me find out a better UI for that. Okay, a card layout. Maybe I can go to docs. I can search for cards. Okay, here I want to show the book title, description, some more information if I can, but yeah, that's what it is mostly. So card body, card title, and card subtitle, and card text. So let me recreate that here. Div dot, what is interaction? Div dot card, and then card body and card title. In the place of card title, I want to print this book name. And in the place of subtitle, I want to print the description. So I'm just taking out that previously expressed information onto the, and I just wanted to print some more information on the description itself. So here we go. Now if I save this, if I go back and refresh, 2 books, I can put it in side by side. Maybe for that I need to keep div, we need to wrap it in div and say call, because I haven't written row. So container div dot row, div dot column, and now I think I have to, oh my god, I made a mistake. So I think till here everything should be above and the column should be created below. So just that, the row and container should be on top. The number of books, if there are 6 books, I need to create 6 columns, and in each column I have to render the card, so that now they are side by side. If you see, side by side. If I add one more book, so maybe I read books, but that's why I'm struggling to recollect. I'm interested in so many books, so I'm confused which one to book and which book name is short. So author, maybe location 9A/1, and page count is 6, and it is N. I need to select the date. So UI is stopping me to say. So we're able to get this button. So how do I delete these things? Okay, how do I delete these things? I think we are already spent a lot of time, and editing, showing edit will be a different topic altogether. But now today in this session, I'll cover how can we delete the record. So let me go back to this guy, and we have, if I go to little bit up, Yeah, I have this link one, right? I just wanted to keep a delete link here, so I'll copy this and keep it in my card. Okay, this is what iterating. So if there are 3 books, 3 columns iterating, each iteration I'm printing name, description and author. So after each thing I'll delete. So I'll say link, danger, I'll say delete. So I just added this extra CSS, extra HTML in the page, and I should be able to see that button on all the books that I'm creating, because I'm iterating the same code. If you see till here, there's nothing different. Okay, this is all the same thing, but in this row I'm iterating over the books that are coming from database. For each iteration there is a column, so first iteration, one column, one card, and I'm printing all the information. Second time again, one column, one card. So this EJS is actually iterating through this HTML, and for each card it is duplicating this HTML, printing that information in the appropriate places where I use this expression, EJS interpolation expression. So we call this as interpolation expression or expression. So this is the string expression or interpolation. So this is string interpolation or the string expression. Okay, now we have delete button. If I click this button, delete button, nothing is happening. So I can redirect it to a delete endpoint, and I can send the ID of that particular post. So how can I do that? So I can simply say ID. Okay, if I hover this, you can see the ID is populating here on the bottom right corner. If you could see, if I'm hovering this post does have an ID, and it is actually finding that ID, and the expression here after delete, it is adding that ID. So if I click it now, it is taking me to delete this endpoint. Okay, so I need to remove that extra space that is coming in, because that is what it is showing, %20. I should not have that. So if I click now, ID delete, I need to satisfy this is a get endpoint, that is actually a delete. So it's coming delete and here. So basically I needed to wrap it around books only, right? I don't want to go, this should be like this, books slash, so this was missing, so I'll add it to here, books. Now if I come back and click it, books delete, now I need to listen on this endpoint and delete this particular record. Okay, so how can I do that? I need to, so let me go to the book outlet. Okay, copy this and let me go back, because I'm trying to listen on this endpoint, right? So I have to look at this /ID. So after delete, whatever you give in this URL will actually be copied and kept it on saved against a variable called ID. Now you can come here, console.log req.params of ID. Now let us test if we can get the ID. Okay, if I, let me just res dot send the same ID. back to the clients. I just wanted to listen on the same endpoint. Okay, yeah. If I just type in something, that something is coming. If you could see, that thing is coming here. That means whatever you type after this, the delete endpoint, this is being stored on ID, and at that ID you are able to retrieve it like this. And now since you have the ID, you can actually delete post. Okay, you can say, so let's save this ID and say ID const ID, because we are capturing it from the URL ID, and we can say const response is equals to await, because we want to do a network, delete operation, delete one. Okay, that is with the ID. Take this ID. If you find this ID, you just delete it and you just send that response to me. So once the book is deleted, I can actually take it back to the same endpoint like this. When my work is done, okay, I can redirect it back to the same page where the books were present. So let me actually rerun this again. There is a ID and it has retrieved that ID called ID. I'm asking that book model to delete that record with that ID, and then asking it to go to the reload the books page. When I'm redirecting back to the books page, now only 2 books are present, and now this time I only get 2 books. So let me go back and let me hit the delete button. So I think this one doesn't have an ID because this was created as a bad data, but this one has an ID. If I wanted to delete epic shit, if I click epic shit, it went to that post endpoint, deleted it, and again it redirected to the home page, books home page. Now this time when it is reloading that information, it is only loading 2 records. So if I delete it, only 1 we have. This we are unable to delete because there was no ID against it. If I go back to my database and click on the collections, if I look at the books collection, this guy doesn't have we have underscore ID but not an ID. So if I delete it manually, okay, now if I refresh the page, I don't have it. So that is what happening. If I go back, add some information, I'm just trying to add some random information there, so it doesn't matter. Okay, it is in. I've created a record. Now I have an ID here. Now look at the bottom left corner. The ID is appended to the link, and if I click it, it is going to the delete endpoint and doing that operation and sending it back to the same page so it can reload that information. Now if it is reloaded, there's nothing on the page. Okay, so you can do this. So if there are nothing on the page, you can do this. Data container. Okay, let me check just okay, let me check if the data the length of data is more than 0. Okay, expression if data dot length is greater than or equal to 0. Okay, now I need to open that if. I need to cut this closing, and here I have to show a message h4 class text hyphen muted some other class. There are no books in the store or in the library. There are no books in the library because the data length is 0, exactly 0. So this is being displayed. So if I add it, if I add a book, okay, now the message is not displayed because the data length is not 0. So the expression between this if expression, the content in between this if expression is not being displayed. So this condition is not being met. So it is actually coming here. Okay. So yeah, we can write condition, we can write if loop, we can write switch cases, and EJS pretty much goes as JavaScript. Only thing difference is it doesn't, I mean, you don't have to, write this script somewhere in the script tag, HTML in somewhere in HTML. So basically the rendering will be controlled by the EJS syntax. But if you are writing EJS, you need to maintain this expression before and after. So each line should have this ending and beginning, and in between you can write whatever the HTML you want, and you should end it like that. So you need to create the block. So if you click on this, it is highlighting the block. Between the block you will get all the data availability in between this block, and you can simply render that information. You can really print the conditional information, or you can iterate through and render. So so many features. There is another feature called flash messages, because if I saved that or if I deleted it, so there is no message coming in deleted or not. So you can do that with flash message concepts. So let's look at creating a success or error responses based on the operation we do. So let's go back, and to do that we need to configure two things. We need to configure express session, we need to configure express flash messages, and then we should enable the cookies, session secret. We have to configure some session secret. So 3 steps we need to do. So let me stop the server. Let me install the 2 packages, npm install express flash messages, express session. I've installed those 2 packages. Yes, they both installed. And let me go to my index.js. I need to configure both of them. So I've imported them, and then I have to enable the session secret. So here we go. I'm asking user the flash. I'm supplying that flash middleware to my application, and also asking this session middleware to use, and this is the secret. You can name it as whatever you want. You can actually put it in .env file and load it as a secret. That's not an issue. But for now, let's go with this settings. Now I've actually enabled the flash messages. Now what I can do, I can go back to my index endpoint. I can set that messages based on whatever I'm doing. So before I redirect pages like this, so if I come back, whenever I'm deleting a record or saving the record, before I'm redirecting it to something, I can say request.flash. So now the flash object, since I already said in the index use flash, I set it to use flash and session. So now the flash.flash method is available in the request object. Now I can set the required document is got deleted. So I can simply say it is deleted. So how can I show this message on the UI? So on the UI, you need to go to the home page. Okay, go to the home page. Now each request is readily accessible, and each request or information readily accessible for your HTML page. That's how we are actually accessing the data and everything, because the request is readily accessible for you. Same way you can readily access the flash information as well. So what you can do, you can simply call a one method like this. So I need to create another container for the messages because I don't want to club this. Div dot messages container, div dot messages. So here I need to the first expression I need to call is this. I just need to get the messages. So first, if I call this function that is readily available on the page, will actually catch all the messages that are processed before coming to this page. Before coming to this page, whatever the message, whatever the settings, the setters have done, will be loaded. The messages will be loaded into the messages folder thing, and then with this script, like if the message.success is readily available, you need to iterate on for. I can set multiple successes if I want to. Okay, so I can show it. So this is the bootstrap success message. Don't get confused. Bootstrap success message. So if you go to bootstrap, so I just skipped that in the video, but if you go to alerts section, you will see this kind of alerts, and this is the HTML I copied. Okay, this is one success HTML I copied to here, and I checked if there are messages. If there are messages, I just for loop with it and created that messages. So if I come here, actually I have exited the sorry, I need to start the server. It's actually cannot access the app for initialization. Yes, I made a mistake in the index.html because even before creating app, I try to set the app update. I think now it is good. I just needed to move the lines to bottom after app is created. So that's the problem. So now adding a book. So I think after adding a book, I haven't set any success parameter. So let me go back to my routes, and I can, after saving the record before redirecting to redirect to books, I can set it to success and set created book, and the response is this. Now let me create a book and save it. See, created book. If I refresh, the page will go because it was a temporary request object. The data information that is set during the flash, this method, the flash method, will only set in the request session. Once the session is refreshed, you don't see that message. So that's the reason. That is how it has become temporary. So if I delete that record, so there is something wrong with the delete option. I think non-existent variable I have called, because I've called response, but I never captured that response. So that's the reason it is failing. Now if I refresh, it will delete, and record is deleted, and object because I'm just expressing the response. This is printing the object. So here also it was printing the response. Why it is printing the full response, but it is only printing the JSON. Maybe I can say JSON.parse stringify, and I can put it like this. Now I'm able to show the messages. So now you can go wild, and you can refer the settings. You can go wild. The book is created. This is the database information. Probably you don't want to expose, most of the time you don't want to expose this information, because this is some information could be sensitive. acknowledge delete counter is 1. So I just kept this to see what's happening in the database, but you probably won't do that happening. You won't do that, this kind of things. So this message is enough. Record is deleted, record is added. Maybe given some time I could have edited the book as well, but it's already a lengthy session, so I just wanted to stop there, and I would like to encourage you to work on the edit one. If you have any questions, please feel free to revert back to me. I will be able to continue this video. Thank you.